Hello, I want to do a quick video, maybe not so quick, going over the differences between Canadian hours and US DOT hours of service. So, one of the things that can start to catch guys in trouble is while you're legal in Canada, as soon as you hit the border, you will not be legal by US hours of service rules. So, in my situation, this is a good situation. I've got US hours here, I've got Canadian hours here. Now I'm in Brampton, Ontario when I'm recording this, so I am legal in Canada. I've got 8 hours, 49 minutes available of driving. Okay, there's my available driving. Last night, I got held up at the customer, couldn't get across the border, so I stopped and did an 8-hour break. And that gave me enough hours, and I was 30 minutes from the border. So I was able to get over the border and switch over Canadian hours. And in Canada, you only are required to do an 8-hour break before you pick up your full hours of service, being 13 hours of driving. But in the US, as you can tell, I got caught in traffic, and I actually went over my US hours. Now, since I'm in Ontario, I am legal, so I can actually run to the border. The problem becomes when I get to the US border, I am no longer legal in the US. So what I'm actually doing is finishing a 2-hour break, and I'm gonna see what kind of hours that gives me back. And then it's about 3.5 hours from Brampton to the border. So theoretically, I'm going to have about 6.5 hours come back to me US. So by the time I get to the border based on traffic, I'll have roughly 2.5 to 3 hours available to drive in the US based on US hours of service. So one thing that for US drivers, it can really confuse guys is when you get to the border, whether it's at the toll booth, whether it's at the customs office, or maybe there's nobody at the border, and as you're crossing, and I'm talking about Sarnia border, once you go through the booth, not but 1,000 feet past the booth, there's a little side parking lot you can pull into, and then you can go ahead and hit the border crossing button, okay, and switch over to Canadian hours, and then hit your button for region, and that will allow you to choose. There'll be, I did a different video on that. They'll allow you to switch from US hours of service to Canadian hours of service. So the one thing you really need to pay attention to is coming back into the United States. So while I am legal in Canada, I am not legal in the US. So with that being said, I'm going to finish a 2-hour break, see what kind of hours that gives me back. But let's say I had already done a 10-hour. And I got stuck in traffic on the 401, and Toronto was awful. And so let's say I have burned up my clock. Before you cross into the United States, you have to get your 10-hour break in this example. So you'd have to stop at the Flying J, 16 kilometers, 20 kilometers short of the border, finish a full 10-hour, then you could go ahead and cross over. At the customs, at US Customs, you either switch back over to US or talk to our safety manager. I'm under the impression if you get stuck on the bridge and you get delayed, that you have a little bit of leeway to get to the rest area that's like 2.5 miles from the border. Then you can switch over. But I'm not the safety guy, and so you'll have to discuss that with the safety director. But I just wanted to do a quick little video talking about the different gotchas on crossing from Canada into the US. It's not so bad going from the US into Canada because you'll almost always pick up hours. But if you come into Canada, Toronto, Brampton, Hamilton, any of the, wherever we're going currently, Quebec, whatever it is, and you can do an 8-hour break and get your full Canadian hours. But before you cross back over into the United States, you've got to finish that full 10-hour break and make sure under your clocks make sure that you have available driving under the US column. All right? Hope this helps.